Now let's add some components like trees and car. And that's one of the strengths of SketchUp, because you have access to something called 3D Warehouse of SketchUp, which is a web-based archive of all the models that are publicly shared with SketchUp community. So you can download various numbers of small or big and complex models from Warehouse and download them right into your model and use all or part of those models. So I'm going to click on this components, and here you can search the 3D warehouse. You can, for example, type 3D tree, enter. This window will show up all the different 3D trees that have been shared in 3D warehouse. I'm going to select this one, download, and I'm going to place it on the ground. So one important thing about these models is that most of the times you have to adjust the scale of them. It doesn't mean that the model that you find matches the scale of your original work. So for example, this tree is only 9 feet. You can change the scale of this tree by clicking on scale, which is next to move tool. So click on scale, select your component, and then hover over the corner of this frame box to change the scale of this model proportionally. So now if I move this anchor point, I can increase the scale of this model. Earlier I talked about the difference between group and component. This model seems to be a grouped object, but it's actually a component. I will explain the difference right now. But before that, let's copy this tree twice. I'm going to click on Move tool again. I'm going to select an endpoint. I'm going to hold Option to turn the Move tool to Copy tool. And I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to type 2. So now I have 3 similar trees next to each other. The difference between component and group is that because this tree is a component, if you change this model, the other 2 copies of this component will also be changed. So there is a link between these trees. For example, if I want to change the color of these leaves. First of all, because it's component, it's not directly possible to edit it. In order to edit, you have to double click, go to isolation mode, same of editing grouped object. Sometimes you have to keep double clicking because there are multiple components within components. So I kept double clicking until I get access to one of the leaves. I'm going to change its color, let's say to an orange. So it's impossible to change all single leaf to orange. One way to do is to select one of them, right click, and then click select all with same material. So that will select all the leaves with the same green color. Now you can go to the material panel. This is the icon for the material panel. Click on an orange, and then with this bucket tool, color these trees. Okay, now let's check the other 2 models. I'm going to check it. Double click out to get out of isolation mode. Yeah, so you see, if components are useful when you have series of models that are linked together and you want to make sure that any edit on one of them applies to the rest of those models. It doesn't have to be just trees or urban furniture. It can be also the whole building. For example, if you're planning for a big subdivision, you have certain building types that have been used multiple times in your subdivision. You can turn them into components, and if you modify that building type, all building types in that subdivision will be adjusted automatically. More than any components that you bring from 3D Warehouse, it's important that you place people in the right scale, because trees come with different sizes, and it wouldn't truly impact your model if you don't turn your tree into a certain measure. But people in a wrong scale, it's very easy to detect, and it can be misleading to understand the scale of your project. So let me go back to the component and bring people. I can click on 3D Warehouse icon, and here I'm gonna click on and search for 2D people. There's something important to understand, is that if you keep bringing all your components in as a 3D object, it will hugely increase the size of your file, and it will also slow down the process, either from rendering to export and any other changes that you want to do in your model. So I recommend that you bring at least your people and trees in 2D models. You can find very good quality 2D people. And the good thing about them is that you can change your camera, and those components always face the camera. So you will not see that they are essentially 2D. Okay. And I'm going to measure it. It's actually not far. So here, once you start adding person, now you can truly see the scale and understand the scale of your model.